It was my husband's birthday and he wanted to keep the celebration low-key, just a small gathering of his closest friends at our home. I had spent the day preparing snacks, arranging the living room, and trying to create a cozy, welcoming atmosphere. By the time everyone arrived, the house was filled with laughter and easy conversation. It was one of those nights where everything felt effortless, where everyone seemed perfectly at ease. I moved among our guests, topping up glasses, setting out appetizers, and making sure no one was missing anything. My husband was deep in conversation with his friend Mark, while Greg, his lifelong friend, kept the rest of the group entertained with amusing stories from their past. Greg had always been the life of the party, charismatic, playful, and familiar enough to feel like family, which made what happened next all the more shocking. As the night went on, I noticed our wine had run dry. I excused myself and headed to the small wine storage room just off the living room, crouching to reach the lower shelves where my husband kept his special bottles. I was carefully selecting one when I heard footsteps behind me. Assuming it was my husband, I didn't hesitate. Suddenly, a sharp, playful slap landed on my backside. Startled, I jumped up, spinning around, expecting to see my husband grinning. Instead, it was Greg, his face mischievous and bold, his eyes twinkling as he winked at me. For a moment, I froze. This was Greg, someone I trusted completely. And yet, there he was, crossing a line I hadn't expected. I forced an awkward laugh, trying to brush it off. Greg chuckled in response. "Don't look so shocked, it's all in fun," he said before strolling back toward the group, leaving me uneasy and flustered. When I returned to the living room with the wine, my mind raced. I tried to convince myself it was harmless, maybe just too much wine, but the discomfort lingered. Every glance from Greg felt charged, every casual remark slightly suggestive. My husband, absorbed in hosting, didn't notice. As the evening went on, my anxiety grew. I wanted to keep the party peaceful, but I couldn't ignore what had happened. Finally, I pulled my husband aside, leading him to the quiet of the kitchen. I explained the incident, choosing my words carefully. At first, he looked incredulous, as if he couldn't quite believe it. "Are you sure it wasn't a joke?" he asked, brow furrowed. I nodded, explaining that while it might have seemed playful to him, it had crossed a boundary. My husband paused, torn between loyalty to his friend and protecting me. Finally, he gave a reassuring nod and promised to stay attentive for the rest of the night. Back in the living room, his protective presence was subtle but clear. He stayed near me, his hand resting lightly on my shoulder or around my waist. Even Greg seemed to notice, his confident energy slightly muted. The rest of the night continued under a strange tension. Greg tried to joke as usual, but there was a hesitation in his demeanor, a flicker of awareness that things had shifted. As the party ended and guests began to leave, Greg approached me with a sheepish expression. He muttered a quick apology, saying he hadn't intended to make me uncomfortable. While it didn't erase the memory, it offered a small sense of closure. After the guests had gone, my husband and I sat together in the quiet living room, reflecting on the evening. He assured me he would handle the situation with Greg, maintaining the friendship while making clear that boundaries needed respect. In the following days, Greg reached out again, expressing genuine remorse. He admitted his behavior had been careless, that he had misjudged the situation. Although the apology was sincere, the incident had altered the dynamic between us. It became a lasting reminder of how delicate trust can be, and how quickly a moment meant to be harmless can become unsettling. Ultimately, the experience strengthened my relationship with my husband. We became more attuned to each other's boundaries and more committed to fostering respect in all of our relationships. And while Greg remained a part of our lives, the memory of that evening lingered, a quiet, enduring lesson in trust, communication, and personal boundaries.